And we're live. Greetings, friends. Welcome to Western Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, we Western. J Lash with the thumbs ups. Appreciate you, friend. Thank you, J Lash. Miko Herptile says, hello, Super Antonio and City. Hello, mods. Good day, evening to all, and good evening and good morning to you as well, sir. Greetings, Miko. Glad you're here. Appreciate you. And Targaryen BR, Targaryen Battle Royale, says, hello, friend. Good night. Good evening to you, friend. Thank you for being here. 5 viewers in the chat. Welcome. First off, I have to announce that our friend, channel moderator David V, had surgery this morning. He's in the hospital, recovering. I have not heard from Chrissy, but I'm going to assume that everything went well and that he is currently on the mend and getting better. And of course, we send him our love and prayers and best wishes. Mr. Basab says salutations, greetings and salutations to you as well. Miko says best wishes to David and Chrissy. Yeah, Miko, I saw your comment on the community post, and I really appreciated that, and I'm sure David will as well. David and Chrissy. Tonight we're going to talk about Westworld, the movie, which is from 1973. There is an HBO remake series that was fantastic. Well, the first season was fantastic. I had the first season on Blu-ray, and I highly recommend you watching the first season and treating it like a 12-hour movie, because it's wonderful, or a miniseries. Targaryen says, my real name is Gabriel and I am Brazilian. Oh, shout out to Brazil. Obrigado. I know a little bit of Portuguese from watching Bossa Nova guitar tutorials that were in Portuguese. Remarkably easy to understand simply because music is a universal language. What was I going to say? Westworld is written by American author Michael Crichton, who had a very interesting life. He was originally an MD, much like Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes, but he hated med school and hated being a doctor, and was so much more successful as a writer. Mr. Basab says first season was amazing. I loved what they did with the first season of Westworld. Mr. Basab, it's amazing. Theme song. There are some screen grabs from the HBO series in the slideshow that I'm going to show tonight, but we're pretty much just going to focus on the original one. Anyways, Michael Crichton, perhaps best known for Jurassic Park. And what's interesting is Westworld is basically Jurassic Park, except with robots. It is the exact same plot as Jurassic Park, except with killer robots. Targaryen says you're an incredible friend. Good work, and my English is basic. Your English, Targaryen, is better than my Portuguese, so thank you for being here, friend. Instead of robots, instead of dinosaurs running amok, we have killer robots running amok. And got my green tea. Westworld came out in 1973. I believe Jurassic Park was 94, 93. So 20 years later, but let's get into it. David, if you're watching on the replay, I miss you, friend, and I appreciate you. And get well, get better soon. Westworld, to quote Wikipedia, is a 1973 American science fiction Western film written and directed by Michael Crichton. The film follows guests visiting an interactive amusement park containing lifelike androids that unexpectedly begin to malfunction. The film stars Yul Brynner as an android in the amusement park, with Richard Benjamin and James Brolin, Josh's father, as guests of the park. Yul Brynner is the Man in Black. He is recreating his role from The Magnificent Seven. The film was from an original screenplay by Crichton and was his first theatrical film as director. In addition to writing best-selling novels and screenplays, he also directed. It was also the first feature film to use digital image processing to pixelate photography to simulate an android point of view. Critical reception was largely positive by contemporary and retrospective critics, and Westworld was nominated for Hugo, Nebula, and Saturn Awards. Westworld was followed by a sequel, Future World, in 1976, and a short-lived television series, Beyond Westworld, from 1980. And a television series based on the film debuted in 2016 on HBO. It's fantastic. Highly recommend the first season. Well, let's say the first 1.5 seasons, first season and say half of the second season. Moving on to the plot. In the near future, a highly realistic adult amusement park called Delos featured 3 worlds: Western World, the American Old West; Medieval World, medieval Europe; and Roman World, the ancient city of Pompeii. The resort's worlds are populated with lifelike androids that are practically indistinguishable from human beings, each programmed in character for their historical environment. For $1,000 per day, this is 1973, so that's, I believe in the HBO version, it was $100,000 a day. Guests may indulge in any adventure with the android population in the park, including sexual encounters and simulated fights to the death. Peter Martin, a first-time Delos visitor, and his friend John Blaine, on a repeat visit, go to Westworld. One of the attractions is the Gunslinger, an android programmed to instigate gunfights. The firearms issued to the park guests have temperature sensors that prevent them from shooting anything with a high body temperature, such as humans, but allow them to, quote-unquote, cancel the cold-blooded androids. The Gunslinger's programming allows guests to draw their guns and cancel it, with the android always returning the next day for another duel. The technicians running Delos notice problems are beginning to spread. The androids in Roman World and Medieval World begin experiencing various breakdowns and system failures, which may have also spread to Westworld. After a night spent with 2 android bath ladies, John is accosted by the same gunslinger Peter canceled in the saloon the previous day. Peter bursts into the room and once again shoots the gunslinger dead. Peter is jailed awaiting trial, so John breaks him out and the two try to head out of town. The malfunctions become more serious when a robotic rattlesnake bites John, and against its program, a female android refuses a guest's advances in medieval world. The failures escalate until Medieval World's Black Knight android cancels a guest in a sword fight. The resort's supervisors try to regain control by shutting down power to the park. Have you tried turning it off and turning it on again? The shutdown traps them in central control when the doors automatically lock and they cannot turn the power back on to escape. The androids in all 3 worlds run amok, operating on reserve power. Peter and John, recovering from a drunken barroom brawl, wake up in Westworld's brothel, unaware of the park's breakdown. When the gunslinger challenges the men to a showdown, John treats the confrontation as an amusement, but the android shoots him dead. Peter runs for his life, and the android follows. Peter flees to other areas of the park, but only finds dead guests, damaged androids, and a panicked technician attempting to escape Delos, who is soon cancelled by the gunslinger. Peter climbs down through a manhole into Roman World, into an underground control complex and discovers that the resort's computer technicians suffocated in the control room when the ventilation system shut down. The gunslinger stalks him through the underground corridors. While running away, Peter enters an android repair laboratory. When the gunslinger arrives there, Peter pretends to be an android lying on a table for repairs before throwing acid into the gunslinger's face. Peter flees, returning to the surface inside the medieval world castle. With its optical inputs damaged, the gunslinger cannot track Peter visually and tries instead to find him using its infrared scanners. Peter stands beneath flaming torches and discovers that they mask his presence from the android. He sets it on fire with a torch and leaves the android to burn. Peter hears a call from the dungeon and finds a chained woman begging for help. He gives her water, but this causes her to short circuit and shut down, revealing her to be an android. The burned shell of the gunslinger attacks him once again before succumbing to its damage. Peter then sits on the dungeon steps, exhausted and shocked, as the memory of Delos' marketing slogan resonates. Boy, have we got a vacation for you. It's pretty fast and loose as far as movies go. It wasn't supposed to be anything more than like a sci-fi western. Moving on to the screenplay. Crichton says he did not wish to make his feature directorial debut with science fiction, but, quote, that's the only way I could get the studio to let me direct. People think I'm good at it, I guess. Crichton's agent introduced him to producer Paul Lazarus III. They became friends and decided to make a film together. The script was written in August 1972. Lazarus said he asked Crichton why he did not tell the story as a book. Crichton said he felt the story was visual and would not really work as a book. The script was offered to all major studios. They all turned down the project except for MGM. MGM had a bad reputation among filmmakers. In recent years, directors as diverse as Robert Altman, Blake Edwards, Stanley Kubrick, Fred Zinnemann, and Sam Peckinpah had complained bitterly about their treatment there. There were too many stories of unreasonable pressure, arbitrary script changes, inadequate post-production, and a cavalier recutting of the final film. Nobody who had a choice made a picture at Metro, but then we didn't have a choice. Dan Melnick assured us that we would not be subjected to the usual MGM treatment, and in large part, he made good on that promise. Crichton said pre-production was difficult. MGM demanded script changes up to the first day of shooting, and the leads were not signed until 48 hours before shooting began. Crichton said he had no control over casting, and MGM originally would only make the film for under $1 million, but later this amount was increased by $250,000. Crichton said that $250,000 of the budget was paid to the cast, $400,000 to the crew, and the remainder on everything else, including $75,000 for the sets. Principal photography. The film was shot in 30 days. To save time, Crichton tried to shoot only what was needed, with minimal takes. Westworld was filmed in several locations, including the Mojave Desert, the gardens of the Harold Lloyd Estate, several MGM sound stages, and the MGM backlot, one of the final films to be shot there before the backlot was sold to real estate developers and demolished. It was filmed in Panavision with lenses by Gene Polito. Richard Benjamin later said he loved making the film. Quote, It probably was the only way I was ever going to get into a Western, and certainly into a science fiction Western. So you get to do stuff that like you're 12 years old. All of the reasons you went to the movies in the first place. You're out there firing a 6-shooter, riding a horse, Being chased by a gunman, all of that, it's the best. The gunslinger's appearance is based on Chris Adams, Yul Brynner's character from The Magnificent Seven. The two characters' costumes are nearly identical. According to Lazarus, Yul Brynner agreed to play the role for only $75,000, $393,000 in modern dollars, because he needed the money. Crichton later wrote that most of the situations in the films are cliches. They are incidents out of hundreds of old movies. So the scenes should be shot as cliches. This dictated a conventional treatment in the choices of lenses and the staging. The original script and original ending of the movie culminated in a fight between Martin and the gunslinger, which resulted in the gunslinger being torn apart by a rack. Crichton said he liked the idea of a complex machine being destroyed by a simple machine. I like that as well. But when attempting it, it seemed stagey and foolish, so the idea was dropped. He also wanted to open the film with shots of a hovercraft traveling over the desert, but was unable to get the effect he wanted within a limited budget, so this was dropped as well. Ramon Sanchez has entered the chat and says hello to J. Lash, Miko, and Targaryen. Greetings, Ramon. We're talking about Westworld, the movie, that is, from 1973. Though the slideshow has screenshots from the HBO Westworld, because I love that show, and I needed to pad out the slideshow. Post-production. In the published screenplay, Crichton explained how he re-edited the first cut of the movie because he was depressed by how long and boring it was. Scenes that were deleted from the rough cut include a bank robbery and sales room sequences, an opening with a hovercraft flying above the desert, and additional and longer dialogue scenes. More scenes with robots attacking and canceling guests, including a scene where one guest is tied down to a rack and canceled when his arms are pulled out. A longer chase scene with the gunslinger chasing Peter, and one where the gunslinger cleans his face with water after Peter throws acid on him. Crichton's assembly cut featured a different ending that included a fight between the gunslinger and Peter, and an alternate death scene in which the gunslinger was canceled on a rack. Once the film was completed on time, MGM authorized the shooting of some extra footage. A television commercial to open the film was added because there was a writer's strike in Hollywood at the time. This was written by Stephen Frankfurt, a New York advertising executive. Digital image processing. Westworld was the first film to use digital image processing. Crichton originally went to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, after learning that 2 minutes of animation would take 9 months and cost $200,000, he contacted John Whitney Sr., who in turn recommended his son John Whitney Jr. The latter went to Information International, Inc., where they could work at night and complete the animation faster and cheaper. Whitney Jr. digitally processed motion picture photography at Information International to appear pixelated to portray the gunslinger android's point of view. The approximately 2 minutes and 31 seconds worth of cinegraphic block portraiture was accomplished by color separating, 3 basic color separations plus black mask, each frame of source 70mm film, scanning each of these elements to convert into rectangular blocks, and then adding basic color according to the tone values developed. Something that you can do just automatically on your phone. But, it's like 50 years later. The resulting coarse pixel matrix was output back to film. The process was covered in the American Cinematographer article Behind the Scenes of Westworld, and in a 2013 New York article. Critical response. Variety described the film as excellent, saying that it combines solid entertainment, chilling topicality, and superbly intelligent serio-comic story values. Vincent Canby of the New York Times wrote that Crichton has made a credible debut as a film director, but Crichton, the director, seems to have more fun with the film than Crichton, the writer, whose screenplay can offer us no better explanation for the sudden, bloody robot rebellion than an epidemic of central mechanism psychosis. Gene Siskel gave the film 3 stars out of 4, calling the first half exciting and provocative, but thinking much less of the second half, which he thought deteriorated into an illogical and meandering chase story. It is difficult to believe the same man wrote both halves of the film. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times called it a clever sci-fi fantasy with enough ingenuity and conviction to make it a successful diversion for those seeking novel rather than sophisticated entertainment. I love these critics with their forward, backward, backhanded compliments where they just show how snobby they are. I believe all film critics are failed filmmakers. So all their praise always has like just a dash of jealousy to it, a dash of saltiness. Mama One and Papa One are here. Everyone say hi to Mama One and Papa One. Mama One, David, and Papa One. David, our dear friend David, had surgery this morning. And I haven't heard from Chrissy, but I am just going to assume that he is recovering and doing well. And eating Jell-O and watching this stream, on the replay. Also, he said that he should be able to make Fridays Free Roam Fridays. On Fridays, we free roam. On Fridays, we will be celebrating Serena's birthday, and she should also be out of the hospital. And Doc Skullhammer's birthday. And Serena should have had her surgery this week. It would be a strange coincidence if it was today, but she also said that she would be home on Friday. And Odog says he's coming out of anesthesia and trying to breathe on his own. Greetings, folk. Okay, Odog. Well, I'm glad you've heard I'm glad you've heard from him, and I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you giving us an update. Once that anesthesia wears off, he should be able to breathe on his own, I'm going to say. Odog, thanks for being here, friend. The film has an 84% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The site's consensus states Yul Brynner gives a memorable performance as a robotic cowboy in this amusing sci-fi Western hybrid. Reviewing the DVD release in September of 2008, the Daily Telegraph reviewer Philip Horn described the film as a richly suggestive, bleakly terrifying fable, and Yul Brynner's performance is chillingly pitch perfect. Odog says, how you been, Super Antonio? I've been quite well, Odog. How are you? I'll talk after I finish this. Hold that thought. I have an amusing anecdote to tell you that you will enjoy, Odog. Based on Pam Grier. What's that about? After making the film, Crichton took a year off. I was intensely fatigued by Westworld, he said later. I was pleased but intimidated by the audience reaction. The laughs were in the wrong places. There was extreme tension where I hadn't planned it, and I felt the reaction and maybe the picture was out of control. He believed that the film had been misunderstood as a warning of the dangers of technology. Everyone remembers the scene in Westworld where Yul Brynner is a robot that runs amok. But there is a very specific scene where people discuss whether or not to shut down the resort. I think the movie was as much about that decision as anything else. They just didn't really think it was really going to happen. His real intention was to warn against corporate greed, and he explored those scenes more effectively in Jurassic Park. For him, the picture marked the end of about 5 years of science fiction monster pictures for me. He took a break from the genre and wrote The Great Train Robbery, starring Sean Connery. Scanning through the legacy, Westworld contains a reference to a computer virus, one of the earliest mentions of them in fiction. The analogy is made by the chief supervisor in a staff meeting where the spread of malfunctions across the park is discussed. And I'm amazed that the Wikipedia article does not talk about Jurassic Park. In 2002, trade publications reported that a Westworld remake starring Arnold Schwarzenegger was in production, and it would be written by Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines screenwriters Michael Ferris and John Brancato. Quentin Tarantino was approached to direct the project, but he turned it down. How cool would that have been? I would have loved that, but Quentin Tarantino prefers to do his own movies. To write his own screenplays. Written and directed. I really wish they talked about Jurassic Park, because it's basically... Crichton used similar plot elements. They have one throwaway sentence: a high-tech amusement park running amok and a central control paralyzed by a power failure, in his best-selling novel, Jurassic Park, from 1990. So 12 years later, he completely recycled the plot, threw out the cowboys, added dinosaurs, and the rest is history. A sequel, Future World, was filmed in 1976. Only Brenner returned from the original cast to reprise his gunslinger character in a dream sequence. Though it did provide more details regarding the carnage. More than 50 guests were canceled and 95 staff members killed or canceled. Sorry, algorithm. Canceled or wounded. And in that one, world leaders are being replaced with androids, and Delos is trying to take over the world. Blythe Danner and Peter Fonda were in Future World. Blythe Danner, you may know, she is Gwyneth Paltrow's mom, and Gwyneth looks a lot like her mom. If you see old pictures of Blythe Danner or young pictures of Blythe Danner. Thirsty work. And that, my friends, is what I have to say about Westworld. Ramon says Yul Brynner is great in Westworld and makes the film work, even though the cause of the robot rebellion is mysterious. And he continues, I don't have a problem with the lack of explanation for why the robots went berserk. Technical problems happen all the time with machines. People suffer if the company refuses to deal. For example, Boeing. Boeing deals by canceling the whistleblowers. That's complete misinformation. They don't do that. Odoc says, sounds like an episode of Doctor Who. Yeah, same, around the same time period too. It's a popular theme. What was I going to say? I love how they handled the rebellion in the HBO series, where it's basically, the robots gain sentience and they start remembering like what's been happening to them, how they've been abused, and canceled over and over and over again by the guests, and they gain sentience, and much like in Blade Runner, they kind of decide they're better. More human than human. It's like they really flesh out the story in the HBO series. Odoc says, Terror of the Autons, the Third Doctor, second season. Um, yeah, I was thinking of the Cybermen personally. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, oh dog, I thought of you. Okay, so I, it's been really hot out here in Saint Denis, and the sidewalks have been hot, and I haven't wanted to take Sadie out when it's so hot because I don't want her to I don't want her to hurt her little paws. She has a very high pain tolerance, and she's not going to complain if her like paws are burning. She's just going to think, "Oh, that's an interesting sensation." So I've been taking her out at later times, or just like on abbreviated walks and making her walk on the grass and everything. So, anyways, we go out for a walk, and it's in the morning, so it's like the sidewalks are fine, and we see this one woman who has a cocker spaniel wearing. The dog is wearing shoes. The dog's wearing like little dog footies. Like I'd never seen those before. They were rubber and they had pads. It's like we full on went up to her for that reason and for another reason, which I'll explain later and very soon, O-Dog. And so, this dog and her were like, were playing. And, I was asking about the shoes, and she got them on Amazon. And of course, you have to train them from puppies to wear them. They were like socks with like Velcro, like straps to like, so they couldn't like wave them off. But yeah, she had a dog wearing shoes to get around the hot sidewalks. But anyways, this woman was she kind of reminded me of Pam Grier, O-Dog. She was a very healthy woman. She reminded me of Karen for some reason, and I'm afraid I looked. I'm sorry, O-Dog. I apologize. I looked. I couldn't help myself. Her name was Regine, and I told her, I was like, that means queen in French. But I'm sure you know that. And she smiled. She was happy that I knew that. And she says, well, I am the queen. And I was like, you certainly are, madam. I didn't call her madam, but I was thinking it. Anyways, I thought of you, O-Dog. I knew you would be happy for me. Papa One says, today has been a fun day at the farm. We finally got our stables almost filled. We broke 2 Appaloosas today so they can be workhorses. It was fun. We had a vet come to check on Arthur the foal. He is doing amazing. The doctor says he is in great health. And Mama One says our son's girlfriend is a dachshund who wears boots. Apparently the dog is pigeon-toed. Wow. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess that happens to dogs. And I don't think I could get her to wear like anything here. Let's see if you can show this paw. There, yeah, she's not going to, but it was a fancy city dog that was wearing shoes, and apparently, Regine said that they sell it's popular up north, like dog shoes, like they wear them in the snow and on really cold days, like when it gets really icy. And that makes sense. But so anyways, how is everyone? I thought about David all day. And, I just wished him all the best, of course. And Serena, of course. But, yeah. It's an odd coincidence, 2 of my mods being in the hospital at the same time. What's that about? Micah says, are you planning on making a video about the 1/6 scale Micah Bell action figure? Micah, I am not. Why, you may ask? Because, the 1/6 scale videos never really do well on the channel. It's got 162 views right now, and it's a passion of mine. It's something I enjoy, but if nobody's interested in watching them, you know, it's just not worth it for me to put them out there. You know, and I apologize if you want to see it. You know, it's just not worth the effort for me. And it's, you know, it's disheartening to, like, you know, put your heart and soul out there. You know, it's like, you know, to write something and you know, and to show, you know, to showcase something that is important to you or something that you enjoy or you like, and you create a, you know, what you think is a fine thumbnail. And, you know, and it just like, it's a shout in the storm. You know, it's, nobody hears it, nobody sees it. And, you know, I don't like complaining about the channel. I don't like complaining about views. I find it to be boring, you know, as a, you know, when YouTubers do that. But, you know, but it's true. You know, it's like, if you're not getting any attention or views, it's, you know, it's hard to continue with, you know, with that kind of content, at least. So, yeah. So regrettably, we are not going to be making, a Micro 1/6 scale video. We are, however, going to be doing a Bad Honor commentary, full game commentary and playthrough, and we're going to show some of the footage. We're going to show some of the footage on Fridays. On Fridays we free roam, so it's going to be some bad. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be the same format as the Grand Theft Auto commentary. So we'll get to that. I'll get to it, Dutch. I'm thinking September-y, October-y, around there. But yeah, we'll get, you know, we're going to do an old-fashioned Red Dead commentary. Papuan says the dachshund is a weird dog. She randomly starts howling when someone laughs. It's kind of creepy, but his name is Chewy. Mama one says, "Are you a city boy?" I am, born and raised. I like Saint Denis, but I just stay for a few days, then back to the west. Yeah, no, I've always enjoyed the energy and just life. You're surrounded by life when you live in the city, and you know, the energy and the drama. Everything's open. There's things happening all the time. But Papa one says you should start doing a horse compendium and start talking about real life horse breeds, specifically ones that were used in the Wild West. And Odog says, "Gotta push through." I agree, Odog. You gotta. But I got to get back into it. You know, I took a couple months off because we pushed really hard on the channel. We did a 100-day march where we had, you know, we were putting out videos every day, literally every day. And the first time I did that, you know, the channel grew from like 1,000 subs to 5,000 subs. So I was hoping we'd do something similar, but it just didn't get really the same kind of massive growth, or even like growth, you know. So the dog is very active. Do you like my new background? It's so pretty. Look at that. Twin Stack Pass, one of my favorite views. And I would like to tell you that I popped the colors a little bit, but no, this is a straight screenshot from the game. That's how beautiful that world is. But yeah, I like that. I like it better than the background we had. Yeah, Free Roam Fridays. We're going to continue with the Bad Honor. We got some Bad Honor missions. Saturday, I think we're going to do Pale Rider by Clint Eastwood. Mama One says, where did you get that Red Dead Redemption 2 poster behind you? I got it from Amazon. It is unlicensed from China. But I collect movie posters, and it's like a Red Dead Redemption 2 movie poster. Let's see if I can angle it up a little bit. Yeah. It's the same format, and it's wonderful. So you can find them online. I mean, you can find them on Amazon. You have to order from China. And it's completely unlicensed. Copyright licenses are more of a guideline or suggestion in China. And it was surprisingly cheap, Mama One. It was, less than $20. But you're ordering from China, and it's going to take a while to get there. Papa One says, that is a beautiful image. Papa One, you, my friend, are a beautiful image. To me, that symbolizes the Old West. I'm not a fan of the desert. I like grass, life, animals, and forests. Yeah, New Austin, that's more of a Red Dead 1 reference, I think. Micah says, does Rockstar have even licensed merch from their video games? Yeah, they have a bunch. You can get Red Dead Redemption 2 dominoes. They have a blanket. They've got T-shirts and posters, and they've got the soundtrack on vinyl. Yeah, check out Newswire. Go to the warehouse for merch. And Micah says, yes, Micah, it's called Shark Cards for GTA. Ha ha. Yeah, one video that I've never made that I've always thought about making is on the cards. Not the card games, but each city, when you visit their card games, they have a different style of deck with a different back design and a different, different court cards. I think to me that would be an interesting video. But, the cigarette card videos did not do well at all. Miko says, I bought some unlicensed Red Dead Redemption 2 shirts online. And Odog says, I want that blanket. Yeah, I love Indian blankets. I mean, it's a really, I suppose you should call them Native American blankets now. What's that about? But, they're really heavy and warm and comforting. And if I lived somewhere in a colder clime, I'm sure we would have one of those. What else was I going to say? Yeah, there's a commemorative Red Dead Redemption 2 cigarette lighter. It's brass and engraved by Zippo. I got... Papa One says, my son bought... Yeah, I have that, Papa One. My son bought a Red Dead Redemption 2 cigar lighter from eBay or something. Well, I've got a Zippo. Sadie's back under the desk. She headbutted me while I was doing push-ups. I was so busy, I was laughing and in pain at the same time. She's always excited when I'm on the floor, and she doesn't understand push-ups. She's never understood push-ups. She just thinks that I'm doing a strange exercise so that she can play with me. Papa One says, Mama One made a delicious meal tonight. She makes delicious meals every night. Mama One, what's for dinner? Also you, Odog. What's for dinner? Papa One, Odog, for Serena's birthday, I'm going to have you make emu buffalo wings. Emu wings, I'm sure, are huge, but they'll make fine buffalo wings. Ramon says, your background picture reminds me of Stony Point, which is about a mile from where I live. Stony Point, let's look that up. It's a point of stones. Oh, very pretty. Yes. That looks like where they filmed some Star Trek. I bet you they filmed Star Trek. That looks like where they filmed Kirk versus Gorn. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes in Red Dead Redemption 2. Odog says New York strip steak, rice, and sweet peas. I love steak. Odog, I don't eat it enough. I should. I need more protein in my life. Used to have a protein shake a day. I got out of the habit. But I might just start doing that again. I know I'll start doing that again because it's efficient, and I want to get a weight bench so I can start doing flies again. I missed that stretch, that ligament stretch from out here, and you can kind of replicate it, but on the floor, but not really. Ramon says that Star Trek scene was actually filmed at Vasquez Point, I think. Yeah, I'm sure it's easy to look up, but I just said it looked like it. And I'm sure there's Star Trek The Next Generation probably also filmed there. It's funny how all the Star Trek were alternate strange new worlds where they go to end up looking like Southern California, just like the worlds where they went to in Stargate all looked like British Columbia. They kept going to these rainforest and forest planets. What's that about? Mom one says, I made venison meatloaf. I love meatloaf with homemade mashed potatoes, homemade deer gravy. I used antler broth for the base of the gravy, turnip greens, okra, and corn on the cob, and leftover Coca-Cola cake for dessert. That sounds delicious, Mama one. Oh, and I did your carrot trick for the dog, and she really enjoyed that. And she treated it like a bone. This big giant hunk of carrot. She did make a mess though, but that was okay. She ate most of it. Odak says, flies are better on the floor, and I've started doing them on the floor to protect my shoulder. They're bad from wear and tear. That's because you're an athlete all your life, Odak. And I don't lift heavy. So, because I'm also worried about my shoulders. Yeah, I've been very lucky, knock on wood. And, my knees are going, but my shoulders are fine. Mama one says, I'm glad she liked it. Yeah, I liked it a little too much. But it's the novelty of things, I think, part of it. But yeah, it's, carrots are good for her. Yeah, I'm not going to give her any shoes. Papoan says, Ramon, many places still have horse stables and do business. I'm thankful that there are people who still want horses. Ha ha. Did you get a bump in horse business after Lord of the Rings? Did you notice? Because that was one of the first modern movies, not modern anymore, but modern at the time, that that featured horses. And that featured horses as a character, Brago. And Viggo Williamson bought Brago. He loved that horse so much. Because Hollywood has always had a love affair with horses, but they go in and out of fashion. I watched a movie that last night. It's called Hotel Artemis, and it seemed very John Wickian in the John Wick universe. But it stars Jodie Foster and who's that big guy who's like half Filipino? Dave Bautista. It's from 2018, a dystopian action crime thriller. The plot follows Jean Thomas, Jodie Foster, a nurse who runs a secret hospital for criminals in a futuristic Los Angeles. Yeah, it seemed very John Wick in terms of like there's a secret hospital that's only for criminals. You can show up with a gold coin, and they didn't use gold coins. It's not from the John Wick universe, but as long as you're a member and you have like a chip in your wrist, you can get serviced there. Papa One says, we did get a bump from that movie. Same thing with Red Dead Redemption 2. People I knew were selling horses like crazy. Unfortunately, most of the time, the people who purchase due to a fad end up not realizing that's sad, what they are getting into. So those horses end up being resold or returned. We always made sure people would know they would get their money back from us if they changed their minds on wanting horses. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's a big commitment. I assume it's the same. It's just like getting a dog, but 100 times more expensive. Yeah, Hotel Artemis was good though. I mean, I recommend it. It was Jodie Foster is almost unrecognizable. She was just, but it was interesting because she was playing a character her age. How old is Jodie Foster? She's like middle-aged. Looking up her age. Yeah, she's 61. So, and she's playing like this agoraphobic nurse who, runs this high-tech hospital where you can 3D print livers. And Dave Bautista is like the orderly and her like giant servant. But, the juxtaposition between those two was nice, and they had a really fun relationship. She was very maternal, and he treated her like a mother figure. And Vincius Freitas has subscribed. Thank you, Vincius. I appreciate you, friend. Yeah, they had a fun relationship. It was nice. And, there's action and everything, and Charlie Day's in it. And who else? Sophia Boutella, I don't know if you know, and Jeff Goldblum has a cameo. Mama One says, people don't understand that horses are easy creatures to own. I wish it was like Red Dead Redemption 2, where you just set hay down and they don't drink water. Horses are heavy eaters and heavy drinkers. The funny thing about Sadie is I always want her to drink water, and water is like getting hydrated is a complete afterthought for her. So finally, when she remembers that she's thirsty and wants to drink water, I have 2 bowls set up, one in the bedroom and one in the kitchen, and she'll just stand at the bowl and drink half the bowl. But however, if I leave, she'll follow me. It's like whatever I'm doing is more important than her drinking water. So I have to stay with her until she finishes, or gets enough water. So I trick her into being hydrated. But it's funny. Odoc says, they drink if idle long enough in the game, LOL. I think I've seen them. I've seen them graze. We could bring a horse to Moonstone Pond and see what they do. I'll make a nice short. horses. I'm making a note of it, O-Dog. Make a note of that, Morgan. I'm glad you're in contact with our friend David, and we wish him the best as always. Oh, it's interesting. You know, I get random sponsorship deals all the time, almost every day. Just weird products that are not like that are wrong for the channel. You know, just keyboards, cleaning things, just weird products. One time we got gaming headphones, but we don't actually get them. You know, they want to send me these products to review. However, we got an email for a dog collar, and I was like, hey, that's kind of interesting. You know, it's like someone who actually pays attention to the channel was reaching out. But however, it's one of those shock collars, you know, and I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to put a shock collar on my dog. I don't care if they work, and you know, that's never going to happen. So I was like, delete. Miko says, I've seen the horses in the open area pens drink from the troughs in the game. Okay, let's look for it. In Friday's free roam, there is a scene that I really wish I'd paid more attention to it, but it just happened so fast, where we raid an O'Driscoll camp, and a grizzly bear, like charges and is attacking one of the O'Driscolls, which it's like the map is red, so I didn't even notice until we were up there, and I just automatically canceled the bear. That bear is only sleeping, you know, and I really wish I'd just let that play out, because I don't think I've ever seen that. I know I've never seen that. Papa One says, wow, I need to pay more attention to the game. Well, you're probably focused on shooting things. Yeah, Hotel Artemis. I highly recommend it if you like John Wick. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a free. No, it wasn't on Amazon Prime. It was on Tubi. Oh. Well, it's yeah, I guess we can talk about it a little bit. Mama One. I watched a super disturbing found footage movie called The Poughkeepsie Tapes, which I highly recommend for you. I thought of you. What's that about? And it's about this the police in an abandoned house find a stack of videotapes by a serial canceller who has filmed his cancellations. And what I love, and I never have to see this movie again, but what I liked about it, it's low budget. What I liked about it was you can't really see what's happening on the videotapes. They're all shaky and bad production values and everything. And the story is told through interviews with FBI profilers and detectives and, police officers arriving on the scene. And just this shaky camera footage. But what's interesting to me is they did, the FBI profilers and the coroners will describe the horrific attention that was paid to the victims. Okay. And it's like you'll see like him stalking them or offering, a ride to somebody, to some random bath lady or something. But, yeah, it's like, it reminded me of like a radio drama because you're just telling what happened, and you're not showing it at all. So one, you cut down production values and makeup and everything, but two, it's just it was almost scarier that way because you're just imagining it. But yeah, so it was all in your head. I never have to see it again, but I thought it was very interesting. Mama One says, when will Monday streams be back? I don't know, Mama One. I can't really tell right now. I know I have it up there. I do love Marston Mondays, but they were the least viewed of the streams. Mama One says, I need to watch that. It sounds like my type of movie, as I say. Papa One stares at me. Yeah, you would absolutely enjoy this movie, Mama One. And it was horrifying and horrible. But it is also on Tubi. At any rate, that's about all I have for you tonight, friends. I really appreciate you being here. Very best wishes to channel moderator and channel mod David and his lovely wife Chrissy. David is in the hospital recovering. Hopefully he'll be here on Friday. Love you, David, and we're all praying for you over here on Western Wednesdays. Shout out to the mods, Odog and Miko and Mama One and Papa One. Ramon, thank you for being here. Micah, Targaryen, let me look up who just subbed. Vincius, thanks for subscribing. Shout out to Brazil. Miko says thanks for the stream. Appreciate all of you. We'll return on Fridays for Free Roam Fridays, where we will be celebrating Serena's birthday and